guys, it's me Chariza, and in this video, I'm going to share to you my personal thoughts related to the topics about the two books, the Torrentara and the Philippine Sourcebook, plus the supplemental topic from Mr. Ronald Daragan. This reflection will be all about history or historical events. Let's start from knowing the importance of history. Many people consider history to be a tedious subject to study or a waste of time. However, there is more to history than meets the eye. I completely believe that every little thing has a history. It's because history is always relevant, perhaps even always essential. History helps us develop a better understanding of the world, other people, and ourselves. It teaches a working understanding of change, help us develop a new level of appreciation for just about everything that surrounds us. And the most important thing that we can benefit from reading, studying, and knowing history is that it makes us a better decision makers. But we can't clearly understand history if there's no people who makes us understand it, who is more knowledgeable about it. And they are what we call the historians. Historians are the people who writes about history. Historians devote their careers to studying notable past events such as military conflicts, political milestones, and social movements. Historians plays a very important role in synthesizing and recording the events of the past. Their efforts make it possible for all of us and the society to learn from history in order to chart a better course for the future. The word history is just a seven-letter but has a deeper value. I can say that studying history is not as easy as everyone thinks because there are some people who see history as a waste of time because they think they just can Google something history then click it and they get an answer about the history of something. The practice of historical writing is called historiography, and I can say that I really admire or salute all the historians because of their intelligence and diligence in studying history, especially the old historians. Just like the history of the Philippine Islands, the Philippines officially, the Republic of the Philippines is an archipelagic country in the Southeast Asia. It is situated in the Western Pacific Ocean and consists of about 7,640 islands that are broadly categorized under the three main geographical divisions from north to south, which is the Luzon, the Visayas, and the Mindanao. The importance of the history of the Philippine Islands was to showcase how natives kept themselves being alive and survive, how do they keep living, their laws, and the ranking of native people. As what I have read in the context of the book De Morga, criticize the native people only because they are not powerful enough and to fight for their colonizers. It also gives insight of how people worship and making their anitos, how these prayers are uttered and performed. To sum it all, the history of the Philippine Island is an important study as it gives knowledge about what do our ancestors do during the time as our country are being colonized. Let's also include the history of the Manungul Jar. The said jar was a fantastic illustration of the Filipino people's creativity and inventiveness. A lot of information is provided on this topic. A lot of existing facts can be found here. This focuses on the discovery of the finest artwork, which is the Manungul jar. This jar shows that our maritime culture is reflected in our Austronesian ancestors' beliefs. I only see this kind of thing in movies. It is supposed to serve as a container for the ashes of their loved ones, but I have never experienced seeing it in real life. The Manungol jar is unique. It is unique when it comes to design, and it is also unique in other ways, being considered the finest art. What the Manungul Jar reveals about the life in the past is that people were talented and skilled craftspeople, and their work always symbolized something and had a purpose. It also reflects our forefathers' religious values. It describes how ghosts move over rivers and oceans came directly from the past because there is a lot of information about it, and it is also labeled as a long ago vessel. This artifacts provides the fact that the Filipinos are natural explorers. In the Manungul Jar, the Filipino concepts of love for one's humanity and then nationalism were also represented. I can't explain the feeling of having a lot of knowledge in this just a few hours of reading. I love reading about history because every time I read this kind of topic, it improves my mood because I am given more knowledge about myself and it gives light to things in my mind. Being knowledgeable about our history or our past is a must. It will help us understand our future. And just like the Manungol jar, every part of my body is meaningful and important. And it is also impossible to explain history without evidence. What role do artifacts and other evidence play in determining the history? History's artifacts can be defined as materials that provide evidence or proof of historical occurrences. The collection of facts, on the other hand, does not produce history. It requires the historian's interpretations. Artifacts are culturally or historically significant because they can provide insight into people's daily life. They provide crucial information for archaeologists and researching ancient civilizations. Tools, clothing, and food are examples of materials. One of the examples of an artifact in the Philippines is the copper plate found in the province of Laguna, located in the east of Manila, the capital of the Philippines. Based on the Oxford Languages, copper plate is a style of neat, round handwriting, usually slanted and looped, then thick and thin strokes being made by pressure with a flexible metal nib. Just like here in the picture, this is the copper plate of the Laguna. Now let's go on to the history of the people of the Philippines, the duties of the Katipunan of the Sons of the People, or the KKK. The Katipunan, abbreviated to KKK, was a Philippine revolutionary organization created in Manila in 1892 by anti-Spanish Filipinos with the primary objective of attaining independence from Spain through revolution. God's benevolence inspires us to respond to the world with hope rather than dread. God's love for us motivated us to love others. We are motivated to act by the discipline of remembering. Here are some of the duties of the sons of the people. Number 1. Love God full-heartedly. Number 2. Bear always in mind that the true love of God is love of country, love which also true love of man. Number 3. Bear always in mind that the true measure of honor and of charity is to die in defense of your country. Number 4. Serenity, constancy, reason, and faith in whatever act of endeavor crowned with success every desire. Number 5. Guard as you would your honor the mandates and aims of the KKK. Sixth, it is incumbent on all that he who runs a serious risk in complying with his duties should be protected as a sacrifice of life and riches. 7. Let the achievement of each either in self-control or in compliance with duty. Be an example to his fellow. 8. Help to find the limit of your endurance. Share your wealth with the needy or unfortunate. 9. Diligence in your daily work so earn a living is the true expression of love and affection for yourself, for your wife, for your child, and for your brother, and for your countrymen. The last one, believe in the chastisement of the perverse and the treacherous, and in the reward of all good work. Believe also that the aims of the KKK are the gifts of God, for your hopes and the country are also the hopes of God. Let's also include the new species of Homo in the late Pleistocene of the Philippines. It's debatable whether or not ancient humans existed. Paleoanthropologists believe that human populations have altered considerably over the last few thousand years, with significant genetic divergence and behavioral adaptations. The out of Africa theory and the Eurasia theory were the two competing views on human origins prior to the 20th century. According to the former, modern humans evolved in East Africa, whereas the latter claims that they originated in both Europe and Asia. Various distinct finds have been made throughout Southeast Asia over the time that many suggest to a link between these areas. Stone tools from a period estimated to be around 200,000 years old have been discovered in the Philippines, significantly older than any other known remains of Southeast Asia. Understanding human evolution aids in the resolution of biological issues that affect our daily lives or our daily existence. It's also important to keep in mind that being human entails more than just having a face, eyes, and a heart. Being a human entails much more. It entails more depth as passion. Being a human being means knowing what is right and what is wrong, having rational thought and the ability to ponder deeply beyond the material world, and finding love. Customs of Tagalog. In 1589, Juan de Plasencia OFM, a Spanish-born Franciscan missionary and linguist, wrote Libro de los Reinos y Señoros del Pueblo, Tagalog, Book of Kingdoms and Lordships of the Tagalogs, for the use of his fellow missionaries. Plasencia wrote at least 3 books in Tagalog: Vocabulario de Lengua Tagala, an attempt at a Tagalog-Spanish dictionary; Arte o Gramática de la Lengua Tagala, the first grammar of the tongue; and Doctrina Cristiana, a primer of catechism in the local language. The habits and traditions of the Tagalog people in the Philippines are the emphasis of this book. It is also known as catalog among Filipinos. Juan de Plasencia, who spent much of his life in Manila, wrote it. He is active in social welfare and other community activities in addition to teaching languages. Plasencia also advised missionaries to study as many native language where possible instead of focusing just on teaching Christianity and Spanish. He wrote about how important it is to promote the Christian message through native languages and cultures. The language and background of Tagalog in 1670 can be found in his book Customs of the Tagalog. The book is divided into 5 chapters that discuss their food, money, tools, and houses made from various types of tall trees. There's also a chapter that discusses their government and how they were treated by their masters. The Philippines' pre-colonial history is still a mystery. The tribe's principal purpose was to maintain their individual identities and liberty while marching through life's next obstacle. It located in the Capiz region of Panay Island. It is one of the most important historical papers in the Philippines. The books are part of a category of material known as Christian literature. However, they focus on natural religions. It is lengthy text that will take several hours to translate, and it will not be printed in its entirely. To full understand it, however, it must be read in its entirety. It contains much that is fascinating and educational about the general state of the Filipinos at the same time of their first contact with Europeans. The next one is The Visit to Philippine Islands. Bowring published the book in the same year that he served as British consul at Canton on 1849 and later as governor of Hong Kong on 1854 to 1859. The book explores the church authority in the Philippines, its sources and foundations, and how it was liberally exercised by various religious groups and congregations in the country. The book also addressed the author's claims that criminal laws are too harsh and that educational standards are inadequate. The Philippines, according to the author, would not be appreciated until its people are educated and enlightened. This book was written in a different era, and it does not reflect the same values as a book written now. Parents should talk to their children about how their attitudes on race, gender, sexuality, ethnicity, and interpersonal relationship have changed since the book was released before allowing them to read it. The last one would be about the lecture notes for history. The lecture notes for history covered a wide range of topics that will help me in better understanding and analyzing the study and background of history. It covers topics such as important approaches to reading relevant to the practice of history, types of dialectic interpretation, dimensions of history, and the philosophy of history, the school of thought, and many others. History is a crucial issue for individuals and our communities to evaluate because it helps us to gain from prior experiences and grow positively as a result. Every person learns from their mistakes and makes decisions to improve. Learning about the past often provides a glimpse into the future. It reveals development paths that will continue past the present and into the future. However, we can't really deny the fact that some mistakes are repeated time and time again, making history irrelevant to learn for the future.